Hello everyone, welcome to Titan Sports, the show where we provide you with the latest news about Cal State Fullerton sports and beyond. I'm Colin Costigan.
Hey everybody, I'm Sergio Gonzalez.
What's up, Titan Sports fans? I'm Justin Rosette.
And I'm Jonathan Mansour. We have quite the lineup of stories today, so let's jump right into it. The latest match for the women's tennis team ended with a win against UC Irvine 5-2. The event started strong for our female Titans as they won the doubles point thanks to the number 3 pairing of Caitlin Taylor and Sehayu, and the number 1 pairing of Sain Myung and Mileva Gavoryan, who won their matches 6-1 and 6-3, respectively. On the singles side, Taylor won her number 6 match 6-2, 6-0, and Gavoryan would follow suit, winning the number 5 match 6-3, 6-1. This gave Fullerton a clean 3-0 lead up to that point in the event. The Anteaters wouldn't allow a complete sweep, however, as they won their number 3 singles match, yielding a score of 3-1. Myung took the match point in the number 1 singles after a long game 7-5, 7-6, 7-5. The matches for the 2 remaining points were played out with Yu taking the number 2 singles 2-6, 6-3, and 7-5, putting the final score at 5-2. The Titans women's tennis team are now 9-7 for the season and 3-3 in conference play. Guys, the tennis team now have 3 conference games left in their schedule before the Big West tournament. What do you guys want to see?
I think for one, it's going to have to start with the doubles. I mean, obviously they just had a good win against UC Irvine, and that was actually the first time they've won the doubles point in their last 4 matches. They had lost 4 straight doubles matches to that point, so it was good to see them finally get off to a good start. I also think it's going to be that pairing of Taylor and Yu, the doubles team. They're going to have to carry. They've won, together they've won 6 of their last 7 doubles matches. So I believe it's going to have to start with them as well.
Yeah, I think right now they had a nice showing against UC Irvine, like you said. I wanted to give a shout out to Gavoryan and Caitlin Taylor. They both dominated in their singles matches. Going forward, though, they're in a very tough spot because the Big West and women's tennis is so loaded. They're 3-3, which is obviously 500, but they're 7th in the rankings right now. And they played a couple less games than some of the other teams, but still, it's a very tough spot. So if they want to try to make the top 5, top 6, make a playoff push, they're going to have to win 2 out of their last 3 matches at least. But their next 2 games are against Cal Poly, who's 16-3 overall, 80-27 in singles play this season, and then they play the number 1 team, Santa Barbara, after that. So it's going to be tough, uphill battle if they want to make the playoffs, but I think they can do it. Like you said, they got to get better at doubles, and also against this loaded Cal Poly team, they're going to have to get a little lucky, but also they're going to have to upset them when it comes to the singles points.
It's going to be very challenging, but obviously the win against UC Irvine was promising, and you have a few players that are standing out as well. Myung 4-0 in her last 4 matches in the singles. Sehayu holding down the number 2 spot. She's 3-1 over her last 4. That's exactly what the Titans need, and those competitors have to be at their best, obviously, against Cal Poly and UC Santa Barbara. And also, as you mentioned, like the doubles, like they've been struggling there a little bit, but obviously a promising round last time against UCI. But one duo I really like there is Caitlin Taylor and Sehayu, who are 3-1 in their last 4. Hopefully they can keep it up and obviously keep the wins going against Cal Poly and UCSB.
Yeah, Caitlin Taylor and Sehayu, they've been dominant. Myung and Gavoryan, they've been dominant as well. Maria Nikitosh and Diana Yanotovskaya, they've kind of been struggling in doubles. They're currently on a 7-game losing streak, so hopefully they can kind of get a couple wins in these last 3 games before Big West tournament play.
Yeah, and I was glad you mentioned that because that is a duo that has been really struggling as well. But meanwhile, if you want to flip it over to the singles side, we already mentioned Myung, but also Sehayu. She's won 8 of her last 9 singles matches. Unfortunately, the one that she lost happened to be the game I was calling, so maybe I'm the bad luck charm. But for the most part, they've been carrying singles as well as Caitlin and Taylor in the doubles.
Well, let's look forward to see what they can do this weekend against Cal Poly. The most recent Big West series for our Titans baseball team was against Cal State Northridge, where Fullerton won all 3 games, 16-5, 9-3, and 10-8, respectively. Game 1 started off with the Matadors scoring an early run in the bottom of the first inning. After Fullerton answered back with a run of their own, the 2 teams would go back and forth, with CSUN being up by 1 going into the 6th inning. This is where Fullerton would pull ahead by a wide margin, scoring an impressive 7 runs and leaving the Matadors in a huge deficit. With a total of 5 more runs in the 7th and 8th innings, Fullerton would claim the win and the series opener. In Game 2, both teams were slow to start, with no runs being recorded until the 4th inning. The Titans were persistent in their offense, however, wearing the CSUN pitchers down and eventually pulling ahead with 2 more runs in the 7th and 3 more insurance runs late in the 9th inning to secure the victory. In Game 3, the Titans would hit 5 home runs, 3 of them coming from freshman Carter Johnstone. With Fullerton leading the game, CSUN would try to mount a comeback in the latter innings, scoring 2 runs in the 8th and 1 in the 9th, closing the gap 10-8. Unfortunately for the Matadors, though, it was not enough, as Andrew Wright didn't allow any more runs, getting the save and sealing yet another victory for the Titans. With this sweep, the Titans are now 17-15 overall and 9-6 in Big West play. After the break, we'll toss it over to Colin for a big highlight that you will not want to miss. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. Before I even get into this, let's just begin. Whether it's CSUN, Capri Sun, Top Gun, it don't matter, because the Titans had some fun in the sun this past weekend against Cal State Northridge. So without further ado, let's get right into those highlights. Early on in the first game, after some back and forth action, you have an absolute no doubt 2-run homer right here from Marcos Rosales. This would give the Titans a 6-5 lead early on in the 6th inning. And like we saw from Justin earlier, the scoring did not stop there. As we go on later on, we have Paul Contreras as well will get a bases clearing triple, which is going to bring in Matthew Bardwell, Eli Lopez, and then also followed by Max Ortega. And the Titans, in dominant fashion, would go on to win 16-5. That gets 3 big booms. Now moving on to Game 2, the Titans offense would continue to go as well. First off, Paul Contreras again. And you know, Sergio, I see what you're saying. His swing just radiates aura. As he gets going with this 3-run blast to give the Titans an early 3-0 lead, and just the way he runs is just so tough. Fullerton would not stop there as well. Maddox Lotta, my goodness, that baseball had a family, as he launches this 2-run homer to left field, giving the Titans a 5-3 lead. And that poor pitcher, man, 123 pitches in the 7th inning. Thanks for putting him out of his misery, I guess. And then the Titans would also not stop there as well, with the bases juiced in the top of the 9th, up 7-3. A terrible throw from their second baseman would roll all the way towards third base. The Titans would score 2 more runs, completing the 9-3 victory. Going on to the series finale, Marcos Rosales gets a 2-run triple right here. And, you know, for that center fielder, that looks like me trying to dive for the ball in MLB The Show, except me personally, I'm making that catch. But either way, the Titans would get out to a quick 2-0 lead, and then the firepower would just continue. As the baby-faced assassin, Carter Johnstone, a true freshman, goes oppo taco to left field for a 2-run shot to give the Titans a 4-0 lead in the top of the 2nd. And what a day it was for Carter Johnstone. Meanwhile, Andrew Kirshner in the following inning, haven't said his name too much, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hits it to the exact same spot in the following inning that Carter Johnstone launched his first homer. This would give the Titans a 5-2 lead, and they, like I said earlier, they're not going to look back from here as well. Carter Johnstone, just so nice, he had to do it twice. Pulls one to right field. It's going to give the Titans a 7-4 lead in the top of the 4th. And Carter Johnstone, like we said earlier, I don't think he's done just quite yet. As he's rounding third base right here, Fullerton is 7-4 lead. Why not? We're going to do it one more time. Third time is the charm for Carter Johnstone. He's going to pull that one over the right field wall. This would give the Titans a 9-5 lead. And this is the first time a Titan has hit 3 homers in a game since Christian Colon did it back in 2010. Back in 2010, I was at my grandma's house watching SpongeBob in the morning and learning how to add in 1st grade. So it's been a long time for this. But just for good measure, as we go on to the top of the 8th, Max Ortega absolutely tears the cover off this baseball to give Fullerton a 10-5 lead going into the top of the 8th. And now Northridge did show a little bit of fight, scoring a couple more runs throughout the game. But ultimately, the Titans would hold on to win 10-8 to complete the 3-game sweep. Up next, we're going to have some more action for you. We're going to talk a little bit more about baseball, and then we're going to get into softball and then some March Madness action for you.
What does it take to discover the greatness within you? It takes resilience.
When I first got to Cal State Fullerton, I felt lost. Then I found my community. It was like a caring family cheering me on.
I wasn't sure about being a chemist. My professor showed me I could. People believed in me here, and I learned to believe in myself. Discover the resilience within you at Cal State Fullerton.
All right, guys, so what a weekend it was for Cal State Fullerton baseball. With this sweep now, they are 17-15 on the year, already surpassing their win total from last season. So I just want to get your take from this series.
Honestly, right now, I'm really liking what I see. And obviously, we started off very slow, starting 5-13. But you look now, we've won 12 of our last 14. Everybody's been stepping up. The pitching that struggled initially is now picking up the slack. They've been doing awesome. The offense has been absurd. Last year, we had 3 players with a batting average over 300, and it was barely. I think the highest was like 307. Right now, we have Maddox Slaughter with 395, Johnson at 373, and you mentioned his 3 homers. He's been absurd. Bartlewell, 365. He's having a breakout year. I know Justin talked to him as well about that. And Andrew Kirshner at 297, but he's also been very nice this year. I just really like everything that's like right now. Everything is clicking for baseball, and who knows who can stop him right now.
And I think something interesting about what you said is how they started off slow. I think they were 4-13, 4-12 at first, and now being 17-15 is crazy. But when you go back and look, their first Big West series of the year, they played against Cal Poly, and they were swept. And they lost 9-10, 8-11, and 4-10. But Cal Poly now is 12-0. They haven't lost in conference play. So looking back at our first series and seeing that we almost took 2 games from the best team in the conference, the signs were there all along. We just said the pitching had to be better, and it has gotten better. Micah Negretti, he's ranked tied for 4th in the Big West with 47 strikeouts, and also tied for 3rd in wins with 4. So he's been great. Jason Blood has been great. Dylan Smith has been great. The pitching has been better. And like we said, once the pitching got better, the hitting has been automatic all season. So now they're, I think, tied for 3rd or 4th in the Big West overall. They've gotten a lot better. And so as of recent, they swept UCR. They nearly swept Bakersfield and then swept Northridge. They're on a high up trajectory right now. So looking forward to see what they can continue to do so far in the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys mentioned pitching because in the CSUN series, the bullpen only allowed 5 runs, and 4 of those came in the last game. So in the first 2 games, they only allowed 1 run total. The offense has scored 9 or more runs in each of those games, and it's safe to say that this Titans team is a top 4 offense in the Big West if you're looking at the stats. John Stonekar, you guys mentioned, he's been hot. At least he has a hit in at least 10 of his last 12 games, and as a freshman, he's tied for the team lead in home runs. It's just absurd. He also won the Big West Field Player of the Week. And 3 Titans are in the top 10 in batting average among the Big West. Maddox Slaughter, John Stone, and Matthew Bardwell. This team absolutely rakes the heck out of the ball. And the one thing is there's really only one pitcher who can go kind of a length of a game, and it's kind of Micah Negretti. He can get you like 5-6 innings. There's not that one other starting pitcher that has shown that they can kind of pitch some innings and kind of help wear off the bullpen. That's kind of my only concern, but so far, no complaints. 14-2 in your last, 12-2 in your last 14 games. There's nothing to complain about right now.
Yeah, and I think it's clicking on both ends, just for pitching and hitting. I mean, the hitting speaks for itself. I mean, you mentioned Lotta. Paul Contreras had himself a weekend. But really, I mean, Maddox Lotta, he's currently riding a 17-game hitting streak, so he's just been able to get on base. It doesn't matter if he goes 1 for 5 or if he goes 3 for 4. He's finding a way to get on base, and that's always going to help you win games. And another thing that stood out for me was pitching. They only given up 5 walks this entire series. That's the fewest that they've given up in a 3-game series this entire season. I've talked about it before, and we mentioned when pitching was really struggling, that their command and their control is really what helps them. Because if you're giving up free base runners, it puts yourself in situations. That's the one thing pitchers can control. I mean, if you dot a pitch on the far right corner to a right-handed batter and they hit it, that's not necessarily on you. That's just a good piece of hitting. But you can control your command. That's the one thing that pitchers can really implement and to help limit themselves. And I think, obviously, pitching their ranks in the Big West, they still have the 4th highest opponent batting average of 293, and they're 6th in team ERA of 5.34. But they're really going to get tested this next series because they're going to be playing against number 8 nationally ranked Oregon State. They don't have a conference anymore. They still didn't want to leave the Pac-12. But I mean, their team batting average is 290. Fullerton's is 295, so they're a little bit better. But they are 15th in the entire nation with a team ERA of 3.83, and they have 7 batters hitting above 320. So really, on both ends for this team, they're clicking. So they're going to have their work cut out for them this weekend.
This weekend's definitely going to be a test, but hopefully they can get things going just how they've been these past couple of weeks against Oregon State.
Yeah, I think the team has been, like we said, getting a lot better, and this is going to be like the big test. We beat CSUN, who's not the best team, but this is going to be the real test. Going up against a number 8 team, are we really getting better, or have we just been beating teams that aren't as good? So we'll be able to see this weekend.
What do you guys want to see in that series? Do you guys want to see them win? Like, how many games would you like to see? Or just, what if they lose all games but it's competitive? For me, if we can sneak in steal one win from Oregon State, I think it would be fantastic. I don't know if you guys,
I think so too, yeah. As long as they can prove that they can compete as well. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a very tight series. It might not be obviously, like you said, like a sweep or 2 games, but even so, if they can compete and stay up there with the Beavers, hopefully that's a good thing going forward.
Yep. And we'll see how they fare this weekend against number 8 Oregon State. Coming off a win against Cal Baptist, our Cal State Fullerton women's softball team took to the field this past weekend for yet another Big West series, this time against Long Beach State. But the beach must have been cold as Fullerton brought the heat and ended with a sweep. Game 1 of the series saw the Titans in a 2-point deficit at the bottom of the 2nd inning, and after some back and forth action, they wouldn't take the lead over the beach until the 6th inning. A hit into left field by Sarah Casillas led to a score by Natalie Lozano, giving the Titans the upper hand going into the 7th inning. Their 5-4 lead was jeopardized by cracks in their defense and a bunt by Long Beach, but Fullerton pulled it together and ultimately secured the win. Game 2 saw Fullerton getting onto the scoreboard in the 2nd inning, and they would keep posting runs until the match ended after only 5 innings with a score of 11-0. Lastly, Game 3 yielded only 1 run for the Titans, but it was enough to hold off Long Beach as they weren't able to make it onto the board for the 2nd game in a row. With Crystalline Romolo stealing a base in the 3rd inning and then bringing it home, she helped secure the victory for the Titans while earning a spot in the top 3 for most stolen bases this season. The Titans softball team is looking to carry this momentum into the next week Big West series, where they will face off against Cal State Northridge. Now, we mentioned baseball had a really good weekend, but so did softball as well. I mean, really from both ends. I mean, I think pitching, we've talked about, it's kind of the opposite for softball. Pitching seems to be carrying a lot of the offense when it was sluggish, like we saw in Game 3. So, I mean, just with that in mind, what did you guys like from this series?
I saw a lot of the good and bounce back, and obviously Trisha McCleskey, our starter, she's been amazing. She just won Pitcher of the Week for the Big West. Over the weekend, she posted 9.2 innings, allowed just 2 runs and 4 hits, and obviously she also, one thing I really like about this team, and I think that makes it successful, is that they pick each other back up. Mm-hmm. Eva Hurtado, our freshman starter, she's been great this season. She had a very shaky first start in their first game of the series. She went just 1.2 innings, but also 6 walks in 2 innings. That is pretty bad. But McCleskey picked up the slack, and then obviously it set the table for Hurtado to throw 3 scoreless innings in Game 3. And that just shows exactly what this team is about. And also Ava Arce, she was 0 for 10 in the series. She's been like our best player throughout the year, and even then it's still a sweep against a team that's always been a thorn in the Titans side like for quite some time. And obviously a team they fought for the conference title for last year. But I think this team is relentless, and I really like what I see so far. Anytime
you beat the beach, it's a good time. And especially considering that in this series, since March 22nd, the Titans have played 10 games. After their 2 shutout games, 2 shutout performances pitching-wise against the Beach this past weekend, they've now have had 6 shutout games as a pitching unit since March 22nd. Just the pitching has been insane. It's very nice to see that what we saw in the beginning of the year is continuing to stay consistent throughout the whole season. And you mentioned Ava Arce. I don't care if she goes 0 for 10 in a series. She's still the best overall hitter in the Big West, 4th in batting average in the Big West at batting .404, 2nd RBIs, and she's top 5 in home runs. And then something that I found very interesting is 6 Titans are in the top 20 in stolen bases in the Big West. So kind of goes back to what I've been saying all year is how impressed I am that this team is not relying on the long ball to score runs. They have scored the most runs in the Big West, and they're in the middle of the pack in home runs. And those 6 Titans in the top 20 stolen bases is a big attribute to that.
Yeah, I think this is a very impressive sweep over Long Beach, a team that they were 8-4 coming into the series. So this is a really good team. It's not like we're beating like a bottom of the Big West team. And also, Long Beach was and still is ranked first in pitching, and our team put up 17 runs in 3 games against them. That's a way to beat your rival, right? Like we said. I think similar to baseball, like early on, like you said, we questioned this team's pitching. It was a little shaky in the beginning, but they've been hot lately. They've been doing really well, like with McCleskey, as you said. She's been dominant, like you said, winning pitcher of the week. And I also want to give a shout out to Leanda Garcia, who was a little shaky as of late. Her ERA right now isn't the best, but she's still tied for second in the Big West with 11 wins. And she had a good showing this weekend as well in the shutout game. On the offensive side, Alexia Lopez, Kobe McClinton, Sarah Cosillos are all in the top 10 of the Big West in batting average. So they've been helping to carry the team as well, along with RC. So I think overall the team is doing very good right now, and look forward to see what they do this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, and Jonathan, you brought up a couple good points because you mentioned how they don't go for the long ball. They had 0 home runs in this entire series, and that alludes to what you also said about their pitching being number 1 ranked. This is the first time in a 3-game series this season that they haven't even gone yard once. So they relied on that, and then also you mentioned Arce going 0 for 10 in the series. I mean, she's never gone hitless in a 3-game series in her collegiate career. She did go hitless, or at least in a 3-game series, that is, but she did go hitless in 4 straight games in the Judy Garman Classic last year, but that was against, she only had 5 ABs across those 4 games. She went against Michigan, Florida, Texas A&M, and Oregon State, so all really good teams. So it's just the ability that you are also talking about as well. They're able to pick each other up, and I think that's how they're going to be able to kind of help themselves going into the Big West Championship. That's going to be the first time we have that this season. And even with this kind of the sluggish, I mean, there were some hitters that had a really good weekend. I mean, Lopez went 5 for 10, and they had a couple other good hitters as well. But they're still first in the Big West in batting average and runs scored and hits, slugging percentage, and on-base percentage. So, and then the pitching speaks for itself. I mean, it was good to see Leanna Garcia have a good bounce-back performance. We know she was battling, I believe, a little bit of an injury, and she'd only made a couple of pitching appearances prior to this performance against Long Beach. So I think it's working on both ends for him right now.
Yeah, and I'm kind of very intrigued to see how the Titans match up with Northridge. Northridge is ahead of them in the Big West standing, so it'd be a very good litmus test to see where this team really is among the conference play, because as we remember, they struggled against the Gauchos, and I'm pretty sure the Gauchos, they are first in the Big West table. So
this past week, March Madness really lived up to the name as the Houston Cougars defeated Duke, the favorite to take the 2025 title, by a score of 70-67. The Cougars, heralded as the nation's #1 NCAA team this season in terms of defense, are highly skilled in pressuring their opponents and preventing them from making meaningful plays. And while this play is held true for some time, the Blue Devils eventually found cracks in their opponent's armor, allowing them to pull ahead for the first 3 quarters. However, this all changed during the last 10 minutes of the game as the Blue Devils went completely cold. Houston seized the opportunity and stepped up, hitting their free throws and capitalizing on some questionable plays made by their opponent. Unfortunately for the Cougars, they would end up falling to the Florida Gators in a similar fashion at the conclusion of the championship game. Houston would dictate the pace for the entire game against Florida, and after a 12-point deficit, it seemed difficult for the Gators to stage a comeback. Nevertheless, they were able to do just that. With Walter Clayton Jr.'s 3-pointer to tie the game at 60 points, the Florida Gators found new life. At this point, both teams were in a scramble to pull out the win and claim the title. But after shifting momentum, the Gators were able to seize the win 65-63 via free throws from Elijah Martin and Denzel Abirdine. This title marks Florida's first championship since their back-to-back run in 06 and 07. Guys, it's been a very fun March Madness. It's always a great time, you know. I know you might have some different opinions on that, and I know you're holding back a little bit right now, but that's okay. We had a lot of thrillers in the Final Four, and obviously there was a lot of conflict going in as well, as to people being, hey, there's no Cinderella teams, there's no outside teams. Obviously, it was 4 #1 seeds, but honestly, in my eyes, I see that as a win because the voters voted correctly. But it was a great tournament. Final Four was super competitive, and we saw a couple of thrillers. Obviously, Houston being involved in both of those. I wanted to ask you guys, who stood out to you guys the most? Obviously, I know Walter Clayton Jr. is up there. And what do you guys like, or what entertained you guys the most from this March Madness?
You know, I got some things I want to say, but I'm going to let the Duke fan over here get everything out right now.
Letting me go first, and I'll have something to say after you go too. But I am a Duke fan, and been a Duke fan for a long. These guys call me a bandwagon. I've been a Duke fan. I was there in 2015 when we beat Wisconsin in the championship. But it sucks because since that championship win, we've had Jason Tatum, we've had Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Paolo Banchero. We've won absolutely nothing in terms of championships. We in the Elite Eight or Final Four every year, but haven't won anything. So once again, and like we were watching the game together, and like there's like 10 minutes left, and I just have a feeling something bad is gonna happen because it happens every year. And so we have Cooper Flagg this year, 18. He's supposed to be in high school. He just turned 18, which is crazy. He won the AP Player of the Year as an 18-year-old, a high school student, really, which is very impressive. But yeah, Duke choked again, and it sucked to see. I am happy that Florida won. Walter Clayton Jr., he had a heck of a tournament. He was going crazy the whole time. Some of the threes that he was taking and making were crazy. The championship game was also, I didn't even want to watch the championship game, but it was a really good game. I'm glad that it wasn't like a blowout. Like on the women's side, we saw a blowout. We'll get to that. But the tournament overall was really good, I think. There were no Cinderellas, but also it was still cool to watch because like in the past couple years when there have been Cinderellas in the Final Four, they tend to lose pretty handily. Like with San Diego State in the championship game a couple years ago. So overall, I think having 2 1 seeds was the best product that we could have had. But as a Duke fan, I'm hoping Cooper Flagg can come back. He probably won't. He should go to the NBA. But I'm sure we'll still have a good team next year. We'll get another top recruit. But it did suck to see. And let's hear what my roommate here has to say.
Well, to answer Sergio's question first, you already mentioned Walter Clayton. He had 30 points in the Elite Eight against Texas Tech. He had 34 against Auburn in the Final Four. And then even though he only had 11 points, he had a tournament high 7 assists versus Houston. So he was able to kind of get everyone involved even when he himself wasn't. And, you know, for somebody named Walter, he's so good that people forget his first name is Walter. But hopefully his draft stock, I mean, it's going to it's not going to plummet. It's going to rise a bunch after this performance. So good for him. I think he really stood out to me. But, I mean, I think for the most part, obviously Duke blew a 6-point lead, just over 30 seconds left. I unfortunately had to go to work. But meanwhile, I have some things I want to show. I'm going to swing it over to my anchors over here. Some of them have already seen it. I'm going to pass these photos around here real quick.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'm going to show this to the camera in just a second. But
These are disturbing.
this really, to me, highlights the life of a bandwagon fan
This isn't even.
and the life of just somebody who
Is it?
claims to be.
Was this really you? This is
Yeah.
a live photo.
It
This
looks
is a
more like
real
Colin
photo?
than me. It's not
So
me.
here, I will
that
take
AI?
those back from you, Jonathan.
It looks
Is
more
AI
like
getting
Colin.
on
Just
it?
so this camera right here can see me over on cam 4 here, we're going to get this right here. So this is actually going to be right here. This is from BetMGM, the actual. So please be reasonable gamblers. But for the most part, BetMGM right here, the life of a bandwagon fan. The caption says, big day for bandwagon fans. You can see the Lakers, the Yankees, and Duke on this AI image. That also happens to be the 3 teams of this guy right here. So he quite literally
Probably.
is a bandwagon fan. And then we're going to get the reaction here. This is going to be Justin's reaction to them losing in the Final Four after being up by 6 with just over 30 seconds left. So
Is that a guy?
no, it is not AI. This one might be, but this is real life. This is what
Let
being
me-
a fan
let
of a
me see
bandwagon
those.
team
Was
does
that
to somebody.
Sorry, was that picture after the
Yeah.
the 2 free throws or the offensive foul
see,
call?
there's a
I
scoreboard
don't
here.
remember. It's somewhere
I don't-
there.
You know what?
But
I don't
now,
blame you.
yeah,
It's
now,
okay. I don't blame you.
now here, let me defend myself a little bit. Here, let me
sure.
take these papers from you, sir. So,
You have the floor.
okay, this picture right here. There's a Duke logo, Yankees logo, and a Lakers logo. I've been a Lakers fan since I was a kid because my dad was a Lakers fan, right? Baseball, I'm not the biggest fan, but I became a Yankees fan because of Derek Jeter. And that was when the Yankees hadn't won anything. I can't be a bandwagon in that sense. And I just said for Duke, I've been a fan since like 2010 days. I have pictures of me with Duke merch on when I was a kid. I'm not a bandwagon. But this picture here, if anything, I'm proud of this picture because it shows I'm a passionate, genuine fan. I was on the floor dang near crying when my team lost. Colin, let me bring up something to you real quick. What's your college basketball team?
I don't really have one. That
No,
I
you're
follow.
a Notre Dame fan, right?
Yeah, I'm more of a
Notre
casual
Dame.
fan. I'll admit it though.
Notre Dame, 15-18 this year, 8-12 in the conference
men's
play,
team isn't
9th
good.
place in the ACC. My team was in the Final Four. Your team was at home eating in and out at your restaurant,
They were.
watching us play in the Final Four. Also, the Notre Dame women's team was in the Elite Eight, and you were nowhere to be found watching that game. You were not a fan. I was crying when my team lost, and this guy, I don't know what he was doing when his women's team was in the Elite Eight, was not watching.
They did.
I'm proud of this. I'm proud of this picture because I'm a genuine fan. I'm a proud fan, and I ride and die with my teams. So it's okay that I'm on the floor because I'm a genuine fan. But I'd rather have that than to be a iffy bandwagon fan like you with Notre Dame.
Well, you know, I will take these pictures.
You
back.
take 'em back.
But
You
yeah,
take 'em back.
this does capture a lot of raw emotion. But at the same time, this is also a guy who would be talking so much talk about how they're going to win the title. And I hear it from you every year. Last year was DJ Burns. You know, he looks like he be eating too much McDonald's, but somehow he sent you guys home. And then this year you got a guy named Cryer who was just raining threes on you. So I feel like for Duke, it's just not going to get any better. And Cooper Flagg is going to leave, unfortunately. So I think we've gotten enough of it out. I feel bad for you, Jonathan. We will let you get out some of your thoughts right now.
Duke will be back. Duke will be back.
Real quick,
No, they won't.
I don't want to make it seem worse for Justin, but he is. What camera am I going to look at? Justin is also a UConn fan.
I'm not a UConn. I was rooting for them. I was rooting for
No,
UConn
no.
because I'm a Paige Beckers fan.
I visibly saw him giving them a standing ovation when they won the title.
I'll let you guys go. I'll let you guys go.
To be honest,
No, we don't need to go into that again. We don't need to go into that
No,
again.
I'll
But
let you
like,
guys go.
To be honest, I will say I was kind of rooting for UConn after. I'm a USC fan when Juju went down, and unfortunate again. Prayers to her to heal for a speedy recovery. I was kind of rooting for UConn though. I don't like UCLA. South Carolina is South Carolina. Just not really a big of a fan. So I was kind of left with UConn, and I'm really glad that they won. Congratulations to Paige. She was amazing. But kind of back to the men's tournament. I mean, you guys mentioned Clayton Jr. Offensively, he was amazing, but in the championship game, he's struggling offensively from the field. But man, did he not come up with the game-sealing closeout on Emmanuel Sharp to force him to have that up and down violation? Just an amazing player. Like you said, I expect his draft stock to rise. And I want to give a big shout out to Alex Codon. I think he was really crucial in kind of kickstarting the engine for the Florida Gators, especially in the beginning of the game. And then he dived on the floor on that loose ball during the up and down because Sharp didn't want to come fully down. He dropped the ball. Codon went, dived, got the ball, gave it to Clayton Jr. The rest is history. Congrats to Florida. But I will say, and I told you, I'm going to stay to my word, Michigan State, Duke, both have the same amount of national championships since 2016.
wait, and who else?
I'm getting there. As Cal State Fullerton. We are an elite company, ladies and gentlemen. We are with the top tier basketball programs in the nation. The Titans are, we're them. We're him.
Trust in Dedrick Taylor.
Is there anything else you want to say about the tournament?
You want to talk about UCLA?
No, we don't need to go there.
I would love to hear your. Actually,
Okay.
would love to hear
I was
your-
definitely wrong.
okay.
I thought UCLA, but I did underestimate UConn. But I'm glad for UConn as well. I think they were number 2 seed, but they honestly felt like a number 1 seed.
Like losing by 30 sucked, but at the end of the day, I would rather lose by 30 than end up on the floor.
I will.
So.
I will.
Man, proud on. I was on the floor with my team. You weren't.
Yeah,
all I
that's
have to
kind of
say.
crazy.
Yeah.
There was no need. I knew the game was
But
over.
Sergio's just very nonchalant. I think.
But also, I
I
want to go
will
back.
say- yeah.
Okay, yeah. Going quickly before we wrap, going back to what you said. If you have been tapped into like women's college basketball, Paige Beckers has been one of the best players in UConn history, and they've had Breonna Stewart, they've had Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, they've had a bunch of legends, and she's near the top of that list. And she's had a bunch of injuries. She's had like a 5 or 6 year college career. She had, I think, 2 ACL tears, a bunch of injuries. They also have AZ Fudd, their second best player, who also had a bunch of injuries. This is this team has been a long time coming for them. And so if you're a real basketball fan, a lot of people that weren't UConn fans were up clapping with Paige because she's been through so much to get to that point. So I was not a UConn fan, but I was rooting for them to win. And Paige finally got her championship, so I'm happy. But to wrap our discussion here, March Madness was great this year. No matter whose teams won, none of our teams won at the end of the day. So we'll see if one of our teams can win next year.
We all ended up as losers, guys.
Maybe Cal State Fullerton. Who knows? Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Bold prediction: Cal State Fullerton will win the national title next season.
That would be a great way to
You
graduate.
heard it here first.
2026.
Be a great graduation gift.
All right, that about wraps up everything we got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please give us a follow on Instagram and X at TitanTVCSUF and on TikTok at TitanTV_CSUF. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of
Titan Sports.